Hello and welcome to Applied Behavior Analysis in Early Childhood. We're going to begin this course with an introduction to science and behavior analysis, beginning with objectives 1 through 6. Objective 1 is to define and describe science. After that, objective 2, you'll list differences between social and natural sciences. In objective 3, you'll list some critical elements of science as it relates to behavior analysis. In objective 4, you'll list 5 types of scientific behavior. In objective 5, you'll match types of scientific behavior to their defining features. In objective 6, you'll identify differences and discriminate between examples and non-examples of scientific laws and scientific theories and then state their purposes. Objectives 1 through 3. The word science is derived from the Latin scientia, which means knowledge. And science is a search for the truth in nature, as separated from personal bias, political positions, economic or institutional interests, or perspectives. That's from Cooper, Heron, and Heward in 2007. Science is a systematic approach to understanding of natural phenomena. Now this quoted definition of science is from Cooper, Heron, and Heward 2007. And this definition of science very much corresponds to how behavior analysts view science, which may be a little bit different than other disciplines. So it's a systematic approach to the understanding of natural phenomena. So the focus is on the natural phenomena, as evidenced by description, prediction, and control. That relies on determinism as its fundamental assumption, empiricism as its prime directive, experimentation as its basic strategy, replication as its necessary requirement for believability, parsimony as its conservative value, and philosophic doubt as its guiding conscience. And so this is a pretty thorough, pretty comprehensive definition of science. And actually this definition of science includes some goals of behavior analysis and some underlying philosophical assumptions. Okay, so for example, philosophical assumptions underlying behavior analysis include assumption of determinism, empiricism, parsimony, philosophic doubt. And then goals of behavior analysis, or goals of a science of behavior, include description, prediction, and control. Now the basic approach to understanding natural phenomena is experimentation. All right, so this definition includes philosophical assumptions, a basic approach to understanding natural phenomena, and some of the goals of a science of behavior. Now the goal of science is to describe regularities in nature so that we may behave more effectively than otherwise would be the case. That's from Johnson and Pennypacker in 1993. And there are two major types of science that I want to differentiate between: social science and natural science. Now examples of social sciences are psychology, sociology, political science. Much of the research in education, in special education, that are not that are not behavior analytic are considered social science. Now examples of natural science are chemistry, physics, biology, and behavior analysis. So behavior analysis is a natural science, and so it has much more in common with chemistry, physics, and biology than it does the social sciences, psychology, sociology, and political science. Natural science is the study of any natural, lawful, orderly phenomenon by the use of certain methods. That's from Bijou in 1995. And here we're also going to consider science as the behavior of the scientist, based on Johnson and Pennypacker 1993. So science is something that scientists do. Now, a critical difference between social and natural science is that natural sciences study observable physical events, and that's important, observable physical events which occur in the natural world. And social science studies what are called hypothetical constructs, such as IQ, depression, personality, greed, and the mind. And so for now we're not going to get into much detail there, so I'm just going to emphasize a few things. IQ, depression, personality, greed, and the mind were just given as examples of hypothetical constructs that are studied by social sciences. Notice that none of those things, IQ, depression, personality, greed, and the mind, can be observed. Okay, they are not physical events. And that's why they don't fall under the umbrella of phenomena that can be studied in a natural science. So by now you should have inferred that in behavior analysis we don't study things like IQ, depression, personality, greed, the mind, things like that, because we are only interested in describing regularities in nature. That is, understanding observable physical events that occur in the natural world. And we do that because not only because it's important to understand how behavior works, but also if we can describe regularities in nature, then by behave more effectively, what Johnson and Pennypacker 1993 mean is that we can develop technology that's useful for improving and teaching and improving human behavior. Okay, so Objective 4 is to list 5 types of scientific behavior. Objective 5 is to match types of scientific behavior to their defining features. So the first is they study empirical phenomena. That's one type of scientific behavior. Something a scientist does is a scientist studies empirical phenomena. Now, empirical phenomena are phenomena which are observable, okay, and they can be they're objective in that 2 or more people can observe the same phenomena and agree on what they saw or what occurred. They can be reliably measured in that the same values can be obtained through repeated measurement of the same phenomena over time. And it can, therefore, because empirical phenomena can be observed and measured, that means they can be quantified. That means values can be assigned to physical dimensions of the phenomena. So that's something that that's a type of scientific behavior, for behavior that scientists who study who are within a natural science, this is something that they do. Okay, so number 2 here, they share their demonstrations of orderly relations between events for the purpose of explaining natural phenomena. Okay, so this includes experimentation, so conducting experiments with manipulation of independent and dependent variables. It may involve conducting an experiment and measuring events, what we call variables. An independent variable is one that you manipulate. A dependent variable is one that you measure. And so changes in the dependent, when you conduct an experiment, you're looking at how changes in one variable are dependent on changes in the other. Right? So how and so if there are orderly changes in one that occur as a function of the other, then we say they are functionally related. And we'll get to this later, but behavior analysis as a science is focused on identifying and characterizing fundamental principles of behavior, which are simply functional relations between behavior and environment. And so within that science, behavior is the dependent variable, and then changes in the environment are considered independent variables. So we have two types of scientific behavior so far. They study empirical phenomena, and they share their demonstrations of orderly relations between events for the purpose of explaining natural phenomena. Third, they attempt to predict and control the event of interest. Now, independent variables can be manipulated to control dependent variables if they are functionally related. With regard to prediction and control, a change in the value of one variable can predict a change in another variable, and in such cases, the value of one determines the value of the other. The practical value of a science depends on the extent to which independent variables can be manipulated to improve dependent variables in the natural world in a manner that benefits others in some way, benefits society, benefits humanity, benefits a learner, benefits a student, benefits a client. Another type of scientific behavior is to make assumptions of orderliness and determinism about the phenomena under study. Now, the assumption of determinism is that the universe is lawful and orderly. Now, if the universe is lawful and orderly, then behavior which occurs in the universe is also lawful and orderly, meaning that events are determined, i.e., dependent variables are determined by independent variables. Okay, now this is critical because a science is only possible for a given phenomenon if that phenomenon is orderly and is determined in some way rather than being random and chaotic. Okay, so we make the assumption within behavior analysis, a natural science, that behavior is this empirical phenomenon that occurs in the natural world that can be is governed by natural laws and occurs in an orderly manner, and that if you can, through experimentation, you can identify the independent variables, i.e. those natural laws that govern behavior, then you can predict and control the behavior. And when we get into talking about teaching and clinical work, you'll learn that behavior analysts have developed applied behavioral technology based on principles of behavior discovered through science, through scientific behavior, that can be applied as extremely powerful tools to teach skills, to teach knowledge, to strengthen behavior, to improve behavior, and help individuals meet their goals. Number 5 here is make tentative and testable claims. So this involves treating knowledge as tentative and frequently questioning the truth and being skeptical. Okay, so that's known as applying philosophic doubt. Alright, so 5 types of scientific behavior. They study empirical phenomena. Then they share their demonstrations of orderly relations between events for the purpose of explaining those natural phenomena. They attempt to predict and control the event of interest, and while they're doing so, they assume that behavior in the environment and other phenomena in the universe are orderly and determined. That means there are causal variables out there to discover through experimentation. And their claims are only tentative, and their claims have to be testable. That's related to the self-corrective nature of science, in that we treat what we think we know about the world and behavior as tentative, and we recognize that in the future, given more experimentation, more research, we may discover, we may make new discoveries that will require us to revise what we think we knew in the past. Okay, so this is gonna be video part 1. We're gonna take a break here, and I'll see you in video part 2 in this next slide.